Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely Tuesday morning. So today I would like to go over something that I read about Zero motorcycles. This was sent to my friend Nathan Proctor at US Perg, and he shared it with me. I'm not going to share the name of the person who sent it because I'm not sure if he would prefer to be anonymous. But it really does speak to the problem that we talk about on this channel when it comes to repairability. And to be clear, I'm not just talking about MacBooks, cell phones, medical equipment, tractors, but just about everything. And this is going to be important going into the future, seeing that there's this green push, there's this push for electric vehicles, electric motorcycles, and so on and so forth. And to be clear, I'm not against that. I built my own electric bicycle. I've been using it for several years. I have videos in the channel where I show you what it looks like. And, it's kind of fun to put stuff together from scratch and ride it around. And I enjoy doing that on a regular basis. Now, what I want to read to you is what he had to say and give you some of my thoughts. He says, I bought a Zero electric motorcycle in 2016. In general, I like the bike, but the company is hell to work with. They don't have a dealer network extensive enough to take my bike to be serviced, but they refuse to sell me a manual or sell me parts except through a dealer. The bike only has a 70-mile range. They say 80, but that's not true. Sounds like Tesla to me, but anyway. So taking it to a dealer means I have to trailer it 110 miles to the nearest dealer in another state. Long story about that one. So he gets 70 miles of range, but the nearest dealer is 110 miles away, so he can't even ride it into the dealer if he wanted, unless he is, carrying some little generator on his back as he goes. The dealer I bought the bike through was only 40 miles away, but they stopped selling Zeros. They said they wanted to remain an authorized service center, but Zero Inc. refused to allow them to. It seems to me that a company as small as Zero could develop a network of authorized service centers simply by allowing bike shops to work on their bikes, but they won't let it happen unless the shop becomes a dealership. Now, this is something that I talked about on this channel about 8 years ago. I wanted to service Lenovo products because I actually like the ThinkPad. I enjoy the ThinkPad. I think it's a great product, and I wanted to be able to fix it and provide repair services for it officially because I think it's a great product. However, when I was dealing with Lenovo, what they told me is that in order to service their products, I have to actually become a reseller of their products. And further, I have to sell something, I forget if it was like $20,000 or $60,000 a month worth of their product in order to be an authorized seller of them so that I could then become an authorized repair center of them. And I talked about that in this video I did a while back, how the authorized repair center is forced to screw the customer. On top of the fact that they have metrics that, in my opinion, and KPIs that don't lead to you being a great repair center, and that I went into detail with in that 10-minute video, the fact that I need to sell your product in order to fix your product is a fundamental conflict of interest. If I need to sell $20,000 to $60,000 of your laptops every month, when somebody walks in with a problem, what am I going to be incentivized to do? Fix their problem or get them to buy a new one? My laptop repair store in New York City does not sell laptops. So when you show up to my laptop repair store, I am incentivized in every way, shape, and form to make your device work and to making your device work as easy and as economical to you as humanly possible, because that's all I'm offering you. I'm not selling you a product. So I don't have this incentive structure in my head where I have to talk you out of a repair that may only cost $200 so that you buy an $800 laptop, because I don't sell laptops. If I were forced to sell a certain amount of a device every single month, then you bet your ass that I'm going to try and steer you away from the $200 repair by maybe making it a $400 repair and then saying this may only last this long and this product has problems. You really want to get this new shiny one. And this is not something that only happens with laptops and cell phones, but it is common across many different industries. And as you can see, it is happening with Zero motorcycles. The idea that the only way to become an authorized service center for a product is to sell it is really tone deaf to me, because again, when you're talking about something like laptops, to be clear, I don't know what it's like with motorcycles, but I remember going to their distributor and there was a laptop that B&H was selling for $875 that my wholesale cost was $860. Does it make sense for me to buy 10 devices at $860 that it's going to cost me $8,600 to fill up my window so that I could maybe make $150 if I sell them all? No, that's an absolutely horrible return on investment. That's like 1 to 2% profit, if even, and that's assuming nothing goes wrong. So outside of the fact that it's a bad return on investment and it's a conflict of interest to the customer, it's also it just fundamentally makes no sense. Most small businesses are not going to have the capital to be able to put up $8,000 to make, $8,100 if everything goes right over the course of a month or two. That's something that only larger businesses are going to be able to do, and people that can actually, maybe negotiate a little bit of a better discount from the distributor than your local laptop repair shop. But it gets better. It says, today I took the bike for New York State safety inspection, which I need to get to register the bike. The front brake is spongy, and I've been trying to bleed it, but after a couple of hours, it's spongy again. I figured there's nothing brand specific about brakes, so I went to the local motorcycle shop and asked them to work on it. They refused as they found out it was an electric bike. And of course, since I had already told them the brake gets spongy, they refused to inspect it. So they wouldn't inspect it because he needed service, and they won't service it because the manufacturer of this product refuses to make manuals or anything else available on how to service it, so they probably did not feel comfortable servicing it. In the same manner, they'd feel comfortable servicing a product from a company that actually releases all this information. So now the bike is useless. I can't register it even, and I can't get it inspected. And the brakes don't work right, so it's not really safe to ride around anyway. It seemed to me that this is a right to repair issue, so I looked around the internet and found your name. Can you help? In the short term, no. In the long term, I hope that we can. And this is something that, shows up a lot when I talk about why I like electric bikes and building my own. People say, well, you can't, if you could register it, if you registered, I'd support it, but you can't register that. And the thing is, well, okay, point taken. You're right. I cannot register my electric bike in the manner that I currently have that electric bike. However, you also can't register a $25,000 motorcycle that's made by a professional company that is specifically producing a motorcycle for you to use. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about putting together my own electric bike is A, it was a lot cheaper. B, outside of not being able to ride on highways, I can still ride it around the roads. It cost me just a few $1,000s, which is considerably less than $25,000. And, I did a video riding around with it and showing you how it rides. I actually had a passenger on the back of the bike in this video. And, I kind of showed you the entire little Frankenstein construction of it. This thing has over 1,000 miles on it, no problems. Look at that beautiful waterproofing over there. I'm better as a MacBook repairman than as an e-bike builder. I got all those liquid proof heat shrinks over there that have, when you heat it, the little silicone or whatever comes out the sides of it to make sure that liquid doesn't get in it. And, I kind of enjoyed putting this thing together. It was a lot of fun. And I can't register that because, well, literally it's an electric bike that I built myself. But the fact that even if you wanted to buy a professionally built one, that you could have a problem like this that keeps you from registering it is insane. I didn't want a gas motorcycle or a bike. I wanted an electric one. And even if I were willing to pay $25,000, it is very likely that not only would I not be able to register it, not only would it get less range than my fucking e-bike that I put together myself in my store, not only would it cost nearly 10 times as much, it's actually more difficult to fix than something that I put together myself. And this is something that I think seriously needs to change. And here's why. The world is moving towards electric vehicles. There's this push for electric vehicles, electric everything. And the reality of electric vehicles is that at their core, they are easier to fix than internal combustion engine vehicles. They have less moving parts, there's less stuff in it in general, and there's less stuff to break. They are very, very simple in their design. There is no reason for an electric vehicle to be more difficult to maintain or repair than an internal combustion engine vehicle. And I've opened up mine on a regular basis. I've seen how the motor controller is put together. I've seen how the motor is put together and all of that. This is not rocket science. The only thing that makes electric vehicles more difficult to maintain and service than internal combustion engine vehicles is that electric vehicles have started to be produced during this anti-right to repair culture that we have in this anti-right to repair time, where you may need some sort of tool to program this to that, or the company doesn't make parts available, or the company doesn't make manuals available. The fact that for internal combustion engine vehicles, parts and manuals and diagrams and schematics and all of this stuff are available, that's what makes internal combustion engine vehicles more easy to service. It's not by virtue of their design that they are easier to service. You have a motor controller, you have a hub motor, like it attaches, like you're done. I mean, electric vehicles are so much simpler than internal combustion engine vehicles. However, because of the way companies act, because of the way all of these different companies act, what you're doing is you're imprinting in people's minds that electric vehicles, which are fundamentally simpler and easier to maintain than internal combustion engine vehicles, are actually difficult to maintain because you're putting these roadblocks and barriers in place. And what that's going to do is that's going to tell the average consumer, I don't want something electric, and it's going to cause this cultural war backlash that is going to restrict the adoption of these vehicles. And it's kind of like when somebody goes on the news and says people should get an electric car if they're complaining about gas prices, when an electric car with comparable range to a gas car will cost you about $60,000. It's this type of tone-deaf garbage that's going to throw people off electric vehicles, when in reality, they're a lot of fun. They can be had affordably, and at least if you're building something yourself. And they're actually easier to maintain in a lot of ways if you are dealing with a company that's not run by assholes than an internal combustion engine vehicle. This is sending the wrong message. It's sending the message to your average ordinary consumer that electric vehicles have to be super expensive, that they're for people that can just afford to buy a new one every time they have a problem, that they're for people that don't believe in repair, they just believe in buying a new one. And that's really not a part of the American culture. That's not a part of the freedom culture that many parts of the country, including myself, embrace and take pride in. And I think it's something that these companies should think about if they want to continue to exist into the future and actually go mainstream in any way, shape, or form. You cannot require that somebody sell your product in order to service your product, because many smaller outlets are not going to want to, again, they're not going to want to stock 20 Zero motorcycles and pay $200,000 to $300,000 up front to stock all this stuff just to be able to fix one when it comes down the road. That doesn't make sense. To most of these dealers, again, electric motorcycles are new. They may be selling 1 or 2 of these a year. It doesn't make sense for them to put in that much upfront investment just so that they can get a manual so that they could help somebody with their brakes when they come by. That doesn't make sense. And if you have a motorcycle that has 70 or 80 miles of range and the dealers are this sparsely placed apart, frankly, in my opinion, you don't have the luxury to require that people go to a dealer. You just don't, because the device literally is not going to be able to make its way there until the battery technology improves to the point where you can actually go 200 or 300 miles to make it to a dealer. And frankly, even if you could make it to a dealer with a 200 to 300 mile trip, why the fuck do you want to go 200 to 300 miles to get your motorcycle fixed rather than just go down the road and allow that mechanic to get access to the parts, schematics, and diagrams to fix your device? I don't like seeing that more and more companies are taking the Apple approach to repair, the one-wheel approach to repair, or sadly in this case, the zero approach to repair. If you're watching, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think I'm bashing on Zero unfairly, or do you think that this is a fair criticism? And also, what do you think of my video that I did 8 years ago called How the Authorized Repair Center is Forced to Screw the Customer? Do you think that I'm being reasonable in that video and that authorized repair centers do have these perverse incentives in place? Or do you think that that's unfair and that authorized repair centers are just trying to do the best they can and the companies that manage these particular requirements do so because they think that is genuinely what is best for the customer experience? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. And one of the things you probably realized at this point in time is I still haven't found my fucking DaVinci Resolve dongle, which is why these videos have zero editing. And I'm still too salty to pay $300 to replace it. I have had a lot of people say, Lewis, why don't you just use the serial number and email them for a new one? You think I saved the box to a 3-year-old piece of software? That's adorable. I like literally threw out that receipt like 10 minutes after I bought it. It's a very generic looking receipt. It's not a receipt with a serial number. It's just a receipt that says like you bought DaVinci that I upload to QuickBooks so that and that's that. It doesn't have a serial. And like the box, I'm a hoarder, but I'm not that much of a hoarder. Like I buy shit, I open it, it works, I throw the box out the day later. Learn my lesson, never doing that again with dongled software. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.